There we go. Okay, I forgot I can't, and from a share screen, I can't do the recording, so I had to unshare to do that. So, all right, well, we did our prayer, and I guess you're doing okay, George? Everything's going all right?
Yeah, everything's going fine.
Well, good. We're going to just do a review of, we might go, a review of the demonstrative pronouns that we looked at last week, and then go over the homework, and then we'll look at an introduction to relative pronouns. I don't think you're going to have, I realize things that are new are always new and can be a little fuzzy or hazy, but there's so much in common in relative pronouns to what you've already had. There's very little that's actually new. So we'll go over that when we get there. But remember, we did demonstrative pronouns as by way of review. I'll get my mouse over here. I want to get my pointer. There we go. So by way of review, we looked at two demonstratives. This and these are what's referred to as the near demonstratives. That and those are referred to as far. Of course, this is from English. And in English, there's no inflection for case or gender. And so basically, you know, something that is this or these are near you, singular and plural, and something that or those are further away, relatively speaking. So pretty straight function. But they can function as a pronoun, such as that is mine. But it also can function as an adjective, such as that car is mine. So in the case of a pronoun that, you have to look back to its antecedent, to what it's pointing to, what that is. In case of an adjective, it's really giving a quantifying or, yeah, that's right, sort of quantifying, describing, in this case, the car, that car versus some other one. And what we looked at were the near pronouns, the nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, singular, hutos, haute, tuto, meaning this, tutu, tautes, tutu, of this, in the genitive, in the dative, tauto, taute, tauto, to, with, or in this, and the accusative functioning as the direct object in a sentence, tutan, tautain, tuta, meaning this as the direct object. So those are in the singular, and in the plural, hautoi, aute, autai, tuta, meaning these. In the genitive plural, tuton, 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 continuous, I forgot to put that in green there, of these, tutois, taute, tais, tutois, and the dative plural, meaning to, with, or in these, and accusative plural, tutus, tutas, tuta, meaning these. And the pattern they follow is the pattern we've already seen. You see our second declension has the omicron stem. Second declension has the omicron stem. In the neuter, there's no ending. In the masculine, there's the sigma. And of course, our first declension ends in an eta or alpha. And so we follow the same pattern in the genitive, the omicron upsilon, eta, sigma, omicron upsilon, the subscript iota in the dative singular with the omega, and the eta in the feminine. The omicron nu, eta nu, omicron with no ending in the accusative. And the plural, the eta ending for the second declension masculine nominative and feminine, and then the tuta follows that same pattern with the tuta and the accusative. You got the omega nu, omega nu, omega nu, and the accusative plural, the dative looking ois, ice, ois in the plural, and tus, tas, and tuta in the accusative. Are you feeling reasonably comfortable with? I mean, I have no doubt you don't. I have no doubt that you can at least. I assume you think that you can. You understand, you know, this, but is it starting to feel reasonably comfortable? Is what?
Well, I wonder if I haven't hit a plateau. I seem sometimes when I'm going through cards and everything to be stumbling over stuff that I know, you know, and it's not uncommon to do that, and then all at once break back out, and that's the only thing.
Sure, I understand. Well, the good news for you is that when it does break out, that there's a lot of this. That it follows the same pattern, and in terms of how it appears grammatically, what it looks like, to be able to recognize it, and the translation is pretty straightforward. It's going to be this in the singular and these in the plural, and then of course apply whether it's a genitive or dative appropriate helping words. And so the near ones are just going to be this or these. One of the things that easy to remember or help you to remember is that you have this rough breathing mark here with hutos, haute, so it gives you that rough H sounding before it. And that seems to take a place of the tau. Everywhere else there's a tau. But where the rough breathing is, such as in the nominative plural for the masculine and feminine, there's no tau. Well, then that's why there's a rough breathing. So that will, sort of be a flag for you to recognize it. The tau, to tau, tauton, and hauto, the way gives you a, sort of this, this pattern with the tau, and then without it, it's replaced with the rough breathing. So even with that, there's a pattern there. So I think the key is just to be recognized. I'll show you another pattern. I don't know that, well, no, I'll pick on that pattern later. Anyway, and so you're just doing the singular this or these in the plural. In the far pronouns, that is going to be that or those. So our translation will be something that's further, relatively speaking, would be that, versus plural would be those. The nice thing about that is usually the same base word, ekenos, and so you have this ekenu, ekenoi, ekenon, ekenoi, ekeno, ekenoi, ekenon, ekenois, ekenus. Again, the same endings for your nominative singular, genitive, dative, and accusative, and in the plural. The plural, the dative, plural, and so we're seeing the same things over and over again. And I think where you're in a plateau is what happens oftentimes. We're doing so much that it's easy to get them mixed up. It's very easy to get things mixed up. But you're right. A little bit more time, and they'll start to you'll start to recognize them and be able to break them apart easily. So, or easier, let's say. And for the far ones, it's ekenos, ekene, ekena. Again, we have the eta stem ending with no case ending added to it. Here it's the eta sigma, the eta iota, and then the eta nu. And so that's our first declension feminine. All of them mean the same thing. It all means that. The only difference is for the genitive will add a helping word of that, and dative a helping word to, with, or in that. To make it plural, we just add the plural case endings, the iota ending, the kenai, kenon, kenais, kenos. And you follow that same pattern for the second declension masculine and the second declension neuter. And I'm not sure much more I can do with that. I think over time, well, as we go through the homework, that might help. We'll go through that next. So let's go next. And so in our translation of this, the pronoun, basically, we can translate it hutos or hutas. This would be the literal translation. Sometimes we have to have a helping word to it. Because it's hutas, notice that as a second declension masculine because it's got the omicron stem, and it's got the sigma case ending. So that's a second declension masculine, nominative, singular, hutas. Well, you can leave it as this, but to make it more flow in English and so you can know what this really is referring to, in this case, without an antecedent to point back to, It's this man or this one. But see, it's masculine, or it'd still be masculine even if it's this one. It's going to point back to something that's masculine. A Kenai, because we have the alpha stem ending with the iota case ending, we have the nominative singular plural for feminine. So it would be that, because it's singular, that, and we could add a helping word to that woman because it's in the feminine case. So a person, it can also function as a personal pronoun, which is what's called a weak demonstrative pronoun. In other words, hutas or kenai could be he, she, or it. It will stand out pretty well when you get to that, when you see it. An adjective, it can function as an adjective, and it'll be what's called the predicate position. That gets confusing to a lot of people. I think the simplest way to remember it is that the pronoun does not have the article, and the noun it's associated with or modifying, well, it's not really modifying, it's predicating, it does have an article. So hutos ha anthropos. When we did chapter, I think it was 9 with adjectives, this format we'd add, because it's called predicate, we would add the helping verb is or was or whatever the case may be. And so, but not when you're dealing with pronouns. It may function as an adjective in a predicate position, which is translated as this man. So that's what this is man, because a predicate position would be this is man. Well, and when we're dealing with adjectives, that would be correct. But under demonstrative pronouns, that would be incorrect. It's hutos ha anthropos, this man. So man is qualified by hutos, this. It's not that man, it's this man. That may be confusing, but as we go through the homework, I think the key to see is that there's no article with hutos. There is an article with the noun associated with it. Hoi anthropos, the kenoi. Again, here's our demonstrative. This is a masculine plural. I got the omicron masculine stem ending with the iota case ending. So, and it's in the plural. It's also in the far, so it would be those. So there's no article with it. There is hoi anthropos or pos, and so that's men. So it'd be those men. It's not. It's called the predicate position because there's no. It doesn't matter whether this comes first, or this is first, but the article's with the noun and not with the demonstrative pronoun. So it's called the predicate position. And typically a predicate position would be those are men or this is man. But when you're dealing with the demonstrative pronoun, it may be in a predicate position, but you're not going to translate it as a predicate. You're going to translate it as an adjective modifying, qualifying the noun it's associated with. So it would be those men. That's a lot. Is that kind of, I think, as again, the article with the noun and not with the pronoun or the demonstrative pronoun is going to be this man or those men in this case. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so let's walk through homework and we'll see some of that as we go. I'm not going to try to write all this down. It just takes, I'm not very good at it, but we can walk through and talk to it. Tone, help me out now. We have the omega nu ending. And so what case would this be in?
Genitive.
Genitive, very good. And what number?
Plural.
Plural, correct. And its gender?
It can be either masculine, neuter, or feminine.
Perfect. Its lexical form, of course, would be from hutos, or hutos. And its inflected meaning, of course, the meaning that we translated would be what?
Of these.
Very good, of these. A kenos, I have the alpha stem ending with the sigma. What case would that be?
That would be the accusative.
That's correct. And its number?
Accusative plural.
Is it, okay, accusative plural, and it's what gender?
Feminine.
Feminine. And its lexical form, of course, would be a nos. And its inflected meaning?
Those.
Those, yes, sir. Me is not a demonstrative. It's a pronoun. What case is that pronoun
Uh, we're looking at the third one, right?
in? Right, me.
Yeah. Accusative.
It is accusative. Is number?
Singular.
Yes, sir. And what about gender?
No gender, because it's
Well, let's go back to number. We said it's singular. Is it first person or second person singular? Ego,
it
move.
would have to be first.
It would be first. That's right. The second person would be se, and from Sue, and so it is first person. So it would be first person, no gender, but it is a first person singular. Lexical form would be ego, as we mentioned. Its inflected meaning would be pretty straightforward.
Me.
Me, yeah. I always like this one because me is me, and it works out very good. Alte. Alte, is this a demonstrative pronoun, or what kind of pronoun is alte? Well, we'll walk through it. What case is it in?
It's a neuter.
Well, what case?
Let's see.
A nominative, genitive, dative, or plural? Here's the key. We have the alpha stem ending with no case ending.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So there's no case ending. We just have the stem ending with the alpha. Remember, an alpha or eta stem ending that has no case ending would function in the nominative position case as a subject. So this is in the nominative case. What number would it be? Singular or plural?
Oh, okay. Singular.
Okay, would it be first, second, or third person pronoun?
It would be a first person.
Well, let's look at it again. The first is going to be ego, a mu, a moi, me, right? And then when we get to the plural, so we already said this is singular, but the plural for first person would be the.
I was thinking declension.
Okay, so what number? What first? We already said first. We already said it's. I'm
Should be the third person.
Singular, so it's third person, right? This is a third person personal pronoun, which and so its case would be the nominative. Its number would be a third person singular. What about gender? Now, first, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Female.
Female, feminine, right? Feminine is more accurate. First and second does not have gender, but the third has a gender, a masculine, feminine, and neuter. Lexical form would be
autos.
All right, hutos or autos.
Is it hutos or autos?
Let me look at my autos or autos. It's inflected meaning.
Mark going the wrong direction.
Yeah. What would be the inflected meaning? If you were going to translate alte in your text, what would you translate it? Third person, singular, feminine, nominative case. If it's third person, it's not me, or excuse me, it's not I, or it's not me, or it's not you. It's he, she. Right. So it'd be she because it's feminine, correct. So that would be a function when it functions as a third person personal pronoun, it would be she. But third person personal pronouns can also function as a identical adjective and an adjectival intensifier. So as an intensifier, if it was an intensifier, it wouldn't be she, it would be, how would you intensify that? With herself. Very good. And as a identical adjective, if it were to function as an identical adjective, what would it be translated as? Identical.
Same.
Same. So the answer really inflected meaning, depending on context, would be either she, same, or herself, depending upon how it functions in that context. That makes sense?
Right. That's what I got.
Yeah, good. Ekeno or kena? What case is that in?
It's either in the nominative or accusative.
All right, and its number?
Singular.
Singular. Is this okay? And it's gender.
Neuter.
Very good. Lexical form would be ekenos. How would you translate that?
That.
Right. Would it be nominative or accusative? It's still going to be translated that. Now, here's a little trick question. Hani it does appear often, but what can you recognize what that word means and what case it's in? Start with the case.
Ani would be dative.
Yes, sir. And because the iota ending shows that very clearly. And it's number, singular or plural?
Singular.
Great. And now would it be masculine, feminine, or neuter?
It could be either one.
Well, it wouldn't be feminine. That has a
no, I mean
masculine or neuter. You're correct.
Masculine or neuter.
There's lexical form.
Ice.
Ace, right.
Ace.
It has a rough breathing. Yes, it does.
Okay, yeah.
It has a rough breathing. So there is a word ice, meaning into. It's a preposition, but it has a smooth breathing. So this word has a rough breathing, and it means what does ace mean?
To one.
Okay, it means the number one, and its inflected form would be to, with, or in one. Correct. Very good. What about ta-ta? What case is it?
It's accusative.
All right, accusative is one of the options. What else could it be if it ends in a alpha ending here?
Ta-ta?
Yeah, if it ends in alpha, there's two options. Accusative is certainly one of them. You only got three other choices: nominative, genitive, or dative.
Oh, what did I say?
You said accusative.
Okay, it could be in the nominative also.
Very good. Right, that follows that noun rule where the neuter, because we haven't got to that yet, but this is neuter, nominative, and neuter accusative are going to be the same case ending. And so we have the alpha and the neuter for the plural. So we already said the answer here is plural. We already said that gender is neuter. Its lexical form, you know the lexical form? You had to look it up in the lexicon.
Autos.
Hutos. Right.
Autos.
And how would you translate that? Ta-ta.
These.
Right, because it's plural. And so it's a near demonstrative. It's it has so it's in the plural, so it'd be these. So it's not this, but it's these. And then aute. Again, we see the eta stem ending with no case ending. So what case would that be in?
That would be nominative.
Yes, sir. And it's number, singular, or plural?
Singular.
All right. And is it masculine or neuter?
It's a
or feminine. Excuse me.
Feminine.
Okay. Yes, that's correct. It's feminine. What about, and its lexical form would be hutos. And how would you translate it?
This.
Very much the same.
Number one, just going across on the
Yeah.
handout.
Yeah. What about 2-2? What case is that in? With the Omicron upsilon ending?
It's genitive.
Yes, sir. And is it singular or plural?
It's going to be singular.
Okay. And what gender would it be?
Masculine.
Or?
Neuter.
Yes, sir.
I guess. Yeah.
That's correct. And it's from the lexical form hutos. And it would mean, how would you translate that? The inflected meaning of 2-2?
Of this.
Yes, sir. And the last one, hemos, a little bit of a trick question because this is not a demonstrative pronoun. It is a pronoun, though. Let's walk through it. What case is the Omicron sigma ending?
It's going to be accusative.
Yes, sir. Is it singular or plural?
It's going to be plural.
Does it have a gender?
No.
Why not?
Because its lexicon form is ego.
Ego, yes, sir.
And it means us.
Yes, sir. And it has no gender because it is in a, we go back to number, it's singular, but is it first or second or third person singular? Or plural, I mean, excuse me. First, second, or third?
I guess it'd be third person.
Well, it can't be third. If we go back to our, if we go back to, trying to find a page number. Well, we got slightly different pages. If you go back, mine's on, say 11.6. 11.6, we see first person and second person. And ego, mu, moi, me. And then we get the hemes, hemon, hemin, hemos, with the eta rough breathing for the plural of first person. But the second person, su, soy, se, has the same plural, except it changes it to the upsilon rough breathing. Humes, hemon, or excuse me, humon, humin, humas. So the eta rough breathing is going to be first person, and here's plural, and the upsilon rough breathing, humos, humes, humon, humin, humas will be the second person plural. And of course, the third person would be the aute, autos, and all that. So, you remember that? Makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's go to some of the translations. Here we have a prepositional phrase because there's our preposition ek, to, kosmu, tutu. Well, we just finished doing tutu, but let's start with ek to kosmu. What does ek mean? Do you remember?
No.
It's from. It's a preposition meaning from.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we have from. You remember? You know what to kosmu means?
This world.
Yes. Well, to kosmu means world, and so to is. And now here's where we have. Look, we have the noun kosmu with an article,
right?
Both in the genitive, and then we've got this genitive singular, just as this is a genitive singular, demonstrative pronoun to. Well, that is what's called the predicate position again, because the article's with the noun. There is no article with the demonstrative pronoun. So it is this world. So from this world would be the translation.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I said. I'm hitting a point where stuff that should be familiar.
Well, listen, when you throw so much to your brain at one time, your brain's going to mix things up, and there's things that you should be comfortable, familiar with, but it will click if you just kind of keep with it. It just takes a little time. So here we have another prepositional phrase, starting with the word en. This is a postpositive de. Postpositive means, in Greek, it's never first, but in English, we make it first. So dev can mean and or but. Oh, my, come on, mouse, there we go. Okay, so we'll just start with but. I don't know what the right answer is, but we'll start with but. So we have en tais, hemerais, ekenis. So we got we got the article, and that what gender is this article? What case is this article in? Tais, same thing with hemerais and ekenis. They're all the same case. They're all the same number. They're all the same gender. Alpha, iota, sigma. Ringing any bells at all?
Yeah, see, my brain's not clicking.
Okay, let's start with, is it singular or plural?
It's going to be plural.
Yes, sir. And then notice the iota. Iota sigma. Iota sigma. Iota sigma. Which case do you see that iota often?
In the feminine?
No. Which case?
No.
Nominative, genitive, dative, or accusative? Well, it's not nominative, not accusative. Genitive is with the omega nu in the plural, so that leaves us dative. So our dative matrix would have the tais. This is the feminine, as you recognize, the feminine plural dative. And so we have in, tais, hemerais, ekenis. So we have but in means in the days, plural, but then you have this ekenis, and it's describing the days. Articles with the noun, no article with the demonstrative pronoun. So it's in what days?
These days.
No, not these. This is a far demonstrative. Far meaning that or those.
Those days.
Right. Okay. So remember, all the ek ones are far, and so this would be, but in. Here we go. But in those days, and that would be the translation.
One thing here.
Yeah.
The day. The day.
Yeah. Tais hemerais.
Why isn't the I there? The iota.
Under hemerais, it is. It's right here. See?
No, I'm looking at it goes in day.
In de.
Yeah. Okay. De.
Oh, de. Why there? Well, de. Number one is a word by itself that's not declinable, and it means and or but. You can also have some other meanings, but and or but is the most different. It's really a conjunction so it's not. This is but in those days. So this doesn't have to agree with anything. It's not going to agree. Because it's post-positive. When we translate in English, the de is literally over here. And so our prepositional phrase is in, which is in the dative case, or governs the dative. And here we have dative, dative, dative. So in those days. De is a post-positive. It's a conjunction, a contrasting conjunction. It contrasts something, generally speaking. So it would be like, but in those days. So de is not declinable. In other words, it doesn't change. It's always de. So there's no iota or any other thing added to it or changed. Does that make sense? It's undeclinable.
Okay.
Okay. That's not a very positive okay, but I'll take it. So I think, let me find that. If you look in the de is, find what page it's on here. Hold on a minute. Yeah, it's in chapter 6. So let's see if we can go to chapter 6 and vocabulary. It should give us a few words about it. Maybe it'll have better words than me to help. So chapter 6, under the vocabulary section, which in my book is page 39, and there's de, and you notice the note, it says but and used 2,792 times. De is a postpositive. De is sometimes written with the delta and the apostrophe when it's followed by a word beginning with a vowel, because of lips. And it doesn't tell us any more about it, but basically it's indeclinable. In other words, it's always that. There's no matrix or case endings or anything. It's just like chi is never, it's not declined. De is not declined. There are several words in nouns that they function not as a noun, but they function as a conjunction of some sort, to correlate, to contrast, these kind of things. And they're just particles. They're just words that don't decline. Our nouns, our adjectives, pronouns, many of them will decline, but not that. Not hati, not our participles don't decline. N is always N. Does that help a little bit?
I just thought there was an I there.
No, not
an iota at the end of it. And
I know what you're saying. There is a word. There is a word with an iota there. It is day. Well, look it up in the back of the book. We'll use the book, and we paid for it. Let's get value out of it. And so under, there it is, delta epsilon iota in day, it means it is necessary. So there is a word that is day, but this is a different word. I see what you're asking now. De is a postpositive, different word. It's a particle, conjunction that means, not a particle, it's a conjunction that means and or but.
Yeah.
I see. I misunderstood what you were asking. Now I got it.
I'm confusing words, but yeah. And yeah. If there was a word beginning with a vowel, I don't know, right offhand, it is necessary.
Yeah. If there was like if Tice was if this wasn't in the dative and it was in the nominative plural, it would be I alpha iota. Then this epsilon would drop off, and there'd be like a comma right here, and it's called an elision. Right. And that would be, it'd be the exact same word. It's only done for when the Greeks want to pronounce words a certain way, and ultimately they don't want two vowels coming together on one ending in one word and one beginning another word, and that's the only reason for it. It has to do with the air. They want to actually be able to take a breath from one vowel to another vowel. It has to do with that. Okay, so here is a one that uses our demonstrative pronoun. Notice that we've got the semicolon here, and which is going to tell us that it's this sentence is functioning as a question. And if we remember what post means, do you remember what it means?
How?
How? You remember Eston? We've had Eston before.
Yeah, that's derivation of is.
It is.
I am.
Yeah, from it meaning is. This is, or excuse me, how is to toe.
Is.
How is this? And that's straightforward. Well, yeah, I'm gonna go there tonight. Okay, this is a little different. Pater Hamon. I'll just go because we haven't done vocative. This is in the vocative. The only reason I know that, and this is not something that, I personally feel like you need to spend time in unless you're really, when you get further into Greek, you'll get more into vocative, but there's not that many of them, relatively speaking. Pater with an eta is the normal spelling of the word. Instead, it's been shortened with the epsilon, and that tells me it's in the vocative. So pater hemon. You remember what hemon is? It's one of the personal pronouns. Is it
Our.
first? Okay, our. Was it first or second or third? This is a first person pronoun in the genitive plural. You're right. So this would be our, and it's describing
Father.
Father. Our Father. So vocative functions as a direct address. So like when we do the prayer in Matthew 6, our Father, well, that's a direct address in a vocative, and that's what pater hemon, our Father. Okay, kai akenois apen. Now, apen is our verb, and we've had apen before. Do you remember what it means? This is a third person, apen, third person singular. He said. So apen means he said. Kai, you remember, means
And.
and then what about akenois? Notice that it's in this omicron iota sigma case ending here. Well, the omicron is part of the stem ending, but the iota sigma. How is this akenois? Is it singular or plural?
It's plural.
Plural, okay. Now, is this a near demonstrative pronoun or a far demonstrative pronoun? The AK is the key right there. All AK is going to be far.
Okay. Yeah, them would be far.
Well, not them. You only get two choices. You get that and those. And because this is plural, it's got to be those. That's your only choices. So that's a nice thing about demonstrative pronouns. You really only got, for the near ones, you got two choices. The near is going to be this and these. The far are going to be that and those. So we have and those, he said. Or well, let's put it in order. He said, and he said, well, because it's dative, we'll put a helping word to those. He said to the, let me do this. And he said, because it's dative, I'm going to put my helping word to. He said to those. And that would be it. Kind of makes sense?
And he said to those.
Yeah. Well, this is not a complete sentence, okay? This is a warm-up exercise.
Right.
So I believe that's the answer they got. Let me see what answers they put. I didn't even look. Well, they got, and to them, he said. So, yeah, and to those, or I guess it'd be appropriate to smooth it out. It's
and
literally,
to those, he said.
to those, he said, but they would smooth it out, and then to them, he said.
Those, them, it's.
Well, this is why I want to make clear that when you're doing a translation for demonstrative pronouns, your choices are for the plural, or for the far, are that and those. That's your choices. Well, but translation is both an art and a science. My science says it's that and those, but my art says, well, and to those he said. Well, that could work, but sometimes you'd smooth it out and say, and to them he said. It's the same meaning, those versus them, pointing to them. But them is not really the literal translation. And to those, he said, would be the literal translation. But you might want to smooth it, and that's what they did in the answer sheet. And to them, he said. That makes sense?
Right.
Okay. I can't, when I can't see faces, I can't tell if I'm, if I'm being received or not. Well, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Because I can't look at both anyway. So when I'm not in the classroom, it makes it much harder for me.
Sure. I didn't have the camera on.
No, that's all right, George. I can't look over there while I'm doing this anyway. So my point is when I'm not in a classroom. Hutos estin ha huios with a rough breathing, mu. Hutos estin ha huios mu. Okay, so let's start with something simple. Where's the subject in here? What is the nominative case? It's a bit of a trick question because I have my Omicron sigma, and I have an Omicron sigma with a with an article, ha. Both of these in the nominative. The demonstrative Omicron sigma, hutos, is in the nominative case, so it would function as a subject. Ha, huios, both all in the nominative, the sun, it would function as a subject. And then I have this stative verb estin, which we've already said is. And so how would you translate hutos? It's a near demonstrative pronoun. It's in the nominative. It's singular. How would you translate that?
Fructose is this.
This is
My son.
okay. You've correctly interpreted. You've added the mu. This is my, because the mu is a second person genitive singular. Excuse me, first person genitive singular pronoun modifying the son. So it is genitive. It's my son. So this is my son. That's correct. Here's a prepositional phrase. I have the word in. Te, pole, taute. All these are dative. In is a dative, dative preposition meaning in. It governs in pole, taute. Do you remember what te pole is? Or well, you know what pole is? City, yes.
City.
Yeah. So in the city. Now, the demonstrative pronoun is going to clarify which city. Or my mouse is not moving. There it goes. And so what is taute?
Would be this.
Right. So in, finish the translation.
In this city.
So we have in this city. Correct. And that's all there is to it. Again, we see the noun that has a article with it. They're both in the dative case. The demonstrative pronoun does not have an article with it. And that's why we know it's in this city. And it's modifying, or it's giving, predicating something about the city. It's this city versus that. What time is it? Okay, we have time. All right, you want to try pronouncing all of that? Is that too much for you?
What?
This sentence here.
Alte estin.
Very good.
Hey. Mega.
Very good. Keep going. Mega.
Yeah.
Mega.
Kai.
Mega. How do you say it? Megale.
Mega. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Kai.
Megale. Kai. Trote.
Very good.
Intole.
Intole. Right. So if you were to make our translation, we have the word is. We've had it several times right here. Okay. There's my verb. I have aute, haute. Well, haute is the third person pronoun, personal pronoun. And it's in the feminine case, right? Because I have my eta. And it's what, feminine gender, excuse me, what case is it?
I just noticed a mistake. I'm correcting. Okay.
Is it nominative, genitive, dative, or plural?
Which word?
Haute. Haute, nominative, genitive, dative, or plural? Eta stem ending, no case ending. Haute.
It would be nominative.
Very good, nominative. So this is a nominative. So how would you translate haute?
This.
Okay. So that is then one of our
Maybe
It is our demonstrative pronoun then for a.
I may. Wouldn't it sound better? That
No,
is.
no, we're not done yet. No, this is going to be the right answer. This, and the reason is this is because we're talking about this is haute is a near demonstrative pronoun, so it's talking about this, whatever this is pointing to. I think Jesus had already spoken of a commandment, or not Jesus. I think this is the rich young ruler or the young man comes up and he's already spoken the commandment, and one of them says this is, and then we got hey megale. Real key, hey is our article in the nominative feminine. Hey megale, also nominative feminine. This is, and megale, do you know, remember what that means?
Well,
you know the verse, so it would be easy.
Megale, yeah, the greatest. Or
The greatest, right? And Chi is and, the greatest, and prote, what would that mean?
First.
First, and antole.
Commandment.
Man, so this is the greatest and first commandment, would be the translation, right? Any questions on that? Wish I could.
So say it again. This is
the greatest and first commandment.
Yeah, I had left out the is. That's what I was doing.
Yeah, there's a verb. One reason I really wish I had my pen working. Well, I can get it to work, but I can't use it. Well, it doesn't do well. But I like to highlight, the verb, and then we can write and talk about. But anyway, here's the great thing. This is a state of verb that's we have alte in the nominative, and the greatest and first commandment. All of these are in the nominative feminine singular. So all of this is equating. This is the greatest and the first commandments, qualifying what this is. So it's anyway. Here's a longer one. I hope you threw it, and I think we'll go ahead and do the chapter 14 after this. This is where I wish let me see if I can use my pen a little bit anyway. Okay, so here's my prepositional phrase. It starts with ek.
Right.
And it's governing the genitive, and so tes is in the genitive, poleos is in the genitive. Actually, akanes is in the genitive. So I'm going to go all the way over to here for my prepositional phrase. Now, this postpositive de is not part of the phrase. It's actually will go, in my translation, it's going to actually go here. And so de will say but. And ek governs the genitive here. So from poleos, so tes poleos, feminine genitive singular. Poleos is also in the genitive. Yeah, I was looking at something that doesn't look right. And akanes is also in the genitive right here. Genitive and genitive. And so, do you remember what poleos means?
City.
Right, and akanes.
That.
Yeah, okay. Because it's far, it's singular. So, but from, let me see, but from that city. Now notice that you have the article is with the noun, and there is no article with the demonstrative pronoun. So that's how I know it's that city. So, but from that city, and then we have paloi, and this is in our nominative plural. And they already told us this verb, epistusan, and that means they believed. It's plural, first plural they. And yeah, I'll answer that later. So paloi is many, and so many believed. And here's another prepositional phrase, ace auton. Now ace is governing the accusative, and my accusative stops right here. So ace auton, and I have this genitive right here and this genitive right here. Tone, samari tone. And then I've got this clause with dia, ton lagan, tes, gunaikos. So slowly, we'll walk through it. We already did. There's my pen. Okay. But from that city, many believed into him or in him. Now this ton samariton gives us a problem. It is a genitive and it's talking about the Samaritans.
Right.
Okay. Well, the question is, what is it modifying? And the answer is from that city, many Samaritans believed. It's separated, and that makes it a little harder, but it's actually coming up here. It's actually really many Samaritans believed. And we have dia, ton lagan. Dia is another prepositional phrase governing the accusative, which in the accusative, dia means on account of. So many Samaritans believed in him on account of ton lagan. What's ton lagan mean?
Believed him.
Ton lagan.
But where does the word logos?
Well, here's logos right here.
Yeah.
It's an accusative. They believed him on account of ton lagan.
The word of a woman.
The word of the woman. Now, why did you say of the woman? Why is it of?
Oh, it just sounded good.
It does sound good, but why is it of?
The word.
It's correct. But why is it correct? Well, because tes gunaikos is in the genitive.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't recognize this as a third declension noun, right, with the consonant as a stem ending, and then the omicron sigma is the genitive. Even if you don't recognize that, what we want you to recognize is this tes. That's clearly in the genitive as one is the article, the genitive singular article. And so tes is governing gunaikos, is associated with gunaikos or gunaikos, either way. And so it is the woman, but because it's in the genitive, it's of the woman. That's our helping word. And so our sentence would be, but from that city, many of the Samaritans, that's really my helping words, of the Samaritans, many of the Samaritans believed in him. Come on. Into him or in him on account of the word of the woman. Does that help?
Yep.
Okay. We'll do one more. Okay, a long one. Goody. We all love long ones. All right, well, here's our demonstrative pronoun, hutos, or hutos, however you want to pronounce that. Where's my mouse? That's why when I go to the pen, I can't find the mouse anymore. All right, come on. Okay, there it is. Okay. All right, so here's our demonstrative pronoun. All right, and it has an Omicron sigma ending with no tau. It's got the rough breathing instead of the tau. And hutos, so it's our nominative singular, meaning it's a near because it's hutos. So it would be this. And then the verb is from erkamai, which you can't recognize now, but you'll get it later. Elthen, and when they told us what it means, he, she, it came.
Okay.
So this came, and hina, we've had before. What does hina mean? Do you remember? That or in order that.
Yeah.
Okay. This came in order that, and here's a verb, I thought, oh, that's supposed to be an upsilon. That's supposed to be an upsilon, not. See, that's a typo on my part. That should be an upsilon. I was trying to pronounce that, and you can't pronounce that right there. Marturese, because I think I got the word down here somewhere else too. Yeah, see, there it is. Marturese, say, he, she, it might bear witness. So this came in order that someone might bear witness, he, she, or it. Where's my, give me my pen again. Oh, this is so frustrating. There we go. And here's a prepositional phrase, peri, and the genitive governing to photos, third declension. There's my consonant ending. There's my genitive ending for third declension. There's my genitive singular article. So concerning, what does photos mean? Do you remember?
Light.
Yeah, very good. All right, so concerning the light, this one came in order that he might bear witness concerning the light. And here's hina again, that or in order that. Pontes, this is a nominative plural. And I know it's nominative plural because I'm in a third declension word with the consonant here, pontes. So that all, pistusosin, and they translated for us, they might believe. So in order that all might believe, oh, give me my pen back. There we go. In order that all might believe. All right, now we have another preposition, dia autu. Okay, di autu. This is really dia, but because the next word starts with a vowel, they drop the lesion, they drop the alpha, and so di autu would be, of course, in order that all might believe through him, and that's the end of the sentence. So our first sentence is, this came in order, or in order that he might bear witness. So who came that might bear witness? This one. So this is where, instead of saying this came, we probably say this one, or actually we might even say he came. I can get away with he because that's a masculine case ending. So I might say, to smooth it out, this one came or he came, but it's literally this came. But you might say this man came, this one came, he came, in order that he might bear witness concerning the light. In order that all, in order that all, why do you want to do that? In order that all might believe through him. And that's that first sentence. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay, so here we have another demonstrative pronoun, akenos. We have taphos. Do you remember what ain means? It's from ami. It's in the past tense. So it's not is, but
Was.
Was, very good. So this is ook is not. Okay, not, was, and a kanos. Is that going to be a far or a near demonstrative pronoun?
That is, should be near.
No, a kanos is going to be far. Remember the ek is always going to be far. Ek is always going to be far. Always far. A kanos is far. So it's either going to be that or those. So you had that correct. You said that. So not was that the light. So we got to try to make sense of that. He was. The verb was is there's no subject given to us. We got not was that the light. This is in the accusative. Actually, could be.
But the subject would be of this whole thing would be the one or he who came.
Right. Exactly. Back up to here. Okay. So, well, let's focus on this verb. We hadn't done verbs yet, but we have mentioned that embedded in the verb is always the subject, and there's no direct subject in this sentence right here. So we're going to use the verb from here. And so he was, and that would be right there. He was. Okay, so he was not, or that one was, and probably this is better, really. It's that one was not the light. So that one is pointing back to up here. That one was not the light, rather, or but, that, in order that, give me my mouse back. I can't get my mouse. All right, there it is. It might testify concerning the light. I probably messed all this up, but so we have a kanos in the nominative with a stative verb. So that one was not the light, period. That's the end of that sentence. But in order that might testify concerning him. So we have to add in English a little bit of help here. But or rather he came in order that he might testify concerning him, or might bear witness concerning him. That's a lot, but did you get some of that?
Well, what was the last concerning what?
Hold on a minute, let me get my mouse back. I'm going to try to change the highlighter.
At the very end.
Yeah, I'm going to change something here. Okay, so the last sentence. All right, the last sentence. This is going to be rather or but. In order that, come on, here we go. Maturesai, they've already given us that word up here.
Right.
He, she might bear witness. So they didn't repeat it. In order that he, she, it might bear witness concerning the light.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the pateri. So we've already had the pateri before, right here. Pateri to photos. So we got the exact same thing. So it's going to be the exact same translation concerning the light. So the difficulty is if you read it literally, but in order that he might testify concerning the light, it's a little bit missing something. And what it's missing, you have to add in there. This is where the art comes in. And so what's it referring to? It's referring to the one that came. He came. So what we would say is, but he came in order that he might testify or might bear witness concerning the light. That make sense?
Makes sense, yes.
Good, good. Let me clear all this. Get back to my something I can see on the screen. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to chapter 14. There's a couple more translations. We can look at those later. So chapter 14, I really don't think, sometimes I do these chapters like 13 and 14 combined because there's so much similarity, although 13 and 14 doesn't have similarity, but we've done so much of 14 already. There's almost nothing, at least in the way to recognize the pronoun, there's not much to learn at all. We're going to talk about relative pronouns. They behave just like pronouns do. They look just like pronouns do. And the great news is this is the very last noun chapter. It's gone through all 14 chapters. You've done everything associated, most everything associated with nouns, adjectives, pronouns, and even prepositions. So it's a lot of progress. The next step was we'll begin to change gears. We'll spend next week as a review, but then after that we'll do an introduction to verbs. But it'll be we'll change gears there, and I've got a whole different set of charts for those. When we talk about a relative pronoun, it's really who, that, or which is our translation. Now, who could be whom or whose to be grammatically correct, but we're talking about who, that, or which, and that's our translations. Who refers to people in English. We understand that. The teacher whom the students love teaches Greek. Well, whom the students love is the phrase that's referring to the teacher. And so it's telling us something about the teacher. The second sentence, whose, is primarily personal, but can be all. In other words, for example, I sold the car whose color made me ill. It's the color, whose color made me ill. It's personal in that it made me ill. I think that's what it's talking about. I've never been a big English grammar expert, and I've struggled with that. Normally, I just go with what natural, and 90% of the time I'm correct. The other 10% someone corrects me. Which tends to be used in the neuter, and that can be any gender, nominative, or excuse me, masculine, neuter, or feminine. So what they're trying to point out here is that who, for example, is not interrogating, or it's not asking a question. So it's not who are my students. That's a different word. That's the word, the interrogative pronoun tis with the accent mark on it. So this is not interrogative, but in English we use who to refer to people who loves him, as a relative pronoun. But we also use who in an interrogative way. Who did that? Well, in Greek, who did that? Who is a different word, and who loves him is would be a relative pronoun. Who. So in English, we use who two different ways. In Greek, it's two different words. Okay.
Right. That's.
Yeah, I try not to confuse it, but I confuse myself sometimes. A relative clause, the first word, the relative clause, the first word will be the relative pronoun, and that is a dependent clause. For example, in the sentence, come to me, whoever is thirsty. Well, there's my clause, and there's my relative pronoun. He actually used in this example, Mouse used what's it called? Not interrogative, but definitive. No, definitive. Definitive. No, that's not it. Oh, I can't think of it now. Tired. But it works. I mean, it's not the best example. I should change the example, but it works. Here's the point. It's not truly a relative pronoun. It is but it functions as a relative pronoun. Who is the pronoun? Whoever makes it uh, uh, a definite pronoun or indefinite pronoun. Whoever. It's an indefinite pronoun. So whoever is thirsty. There's my clause right there. And I will give a drink. Well, the sentence is come to me and I will give a drink. There's an independent or a dependent clause that by itself cannot stand alone, whoever is thirsty. That's always started by a relative pronoun. And that's an important thing to recognize. We'll talk more about that as we go. So the sentence is come to me and I will give a drink. But there's a dependent clause embedded in it, whoever is thirsty, called a relative clause. Well, it's a relative clause because it's led by the relative pronoun, who. In English, what we do is we divide it off by commas. So come to me, comma, whoever is thirsty, comma, and I will give a drink. And there's my clause. It stands out as a relative clause because it has who at the beginning and because it has commas. It usually modifies a noun. Come to me, whoever is thirsty. Well, this is a poor example that Mouse has in his book because the noun I'm modifying is implied. It's you come to me, whoever is thirsty. So who's supposed to come to him? Whoever is thirsty. So who is that? It's you come to me, whoever is thirsty, and I will give a drink. So it usually modifies a noun. In this case, the noun is implied. It's you come to me. And it can function as a substantive. In other words, it can function as a noun in of itself. A substantive refers to a noun. It could be nominative, it could be the subject, could be the accusative, the direct object. So it can function as a substantive, as a noun. My dog eats what is given to him. Well, what is given to him is the entire clause. It's the relative clause, starting with what. And this whole clause functions as the accusative direct object. So my dog eats what is given to him. So that's how it works in English, and Greek works the same way. It gets a little confusing here, and let's remember first that the number and gender of the relative pronoun is defined by what its antecedent, what it's replacing. So if its antecedent is masculine, then the relative pronoun is going to be masculine. If its antecedent is singular, the relative pronoun will be singular. That's pretty straightforward. However, the case, in other words, nominative, genitive, dative, or accusative, it was determined by its function inside the relative clause. It does not go back to at all back to the antecedent. Its case is determined by how it functions inside the relative clause. Here's an example. The woman whom we saw was walking to the subway. Well, the woman without the clause would be the woman who was walking to the subway. Okay? There's a relative clause. It's dependent. It cannot stand alone. Whom we saw. Here's the trick. In the Greek, this whom would be feminine because it's describing the woman. It would be singular because it's describing a single woman. But this woman is in the nominative case. This would not be nominative. And the reason it's not is because inside the clause, nominative is we saw. And what do we see? We saw the woman. Well, whom replaces the woman. And so it's whom we saw whom, or we saw the woman. So here, although this would be in the feminine, it would be singular, but it's going to be accusative, even though the woman is nominative. The reason is because it's functioning in the clause as the direct object. Does that make any sense at all?
It makes sense, but it's yeah.
Well, yeah, it makes sense, but remembering and holding on to it. Okay, the star that they had seen in the east. Well, the star is the nominative subject. That is going to be the relative clause. That they had seen in the east is the entire clause. So it functions as the predicate nominative, that they had seen in the east, or as the accusative. Let's see if I can remember this. They had seen, and we'll get rid of in the east because that's the indirect object. That's a prepositional phrase. That they had seen. Well, they had seen what? They had seen the star. Well, that replaces the star. So they had seen that, or they. So that is going to be in the accusative case, even though star is in the nominative case. But that will be in the same gender and number as star. In other words, it will be star is going to be neuter and star is going to be singular. So that will be neuter and singular, but it will be accusative and not nominative, because there's my subject in the clause. They had seen that. Well, that is functioning as the direct object inside the clause. So it's pointing back to the star. What they suggest, and I agree, is if it's difficult to figure it out, take that antecedent and replace it with whatever it takes that demonstrative pronoun and replace it, or relative pronoun, and replace it with whatever its antecedent is. In this case, the star. So the star they had seen in the east. And now I figure out my clause is star they had seen. Well, they had seen star. Okay, this is going to be in the accusative case, because they is the nominative, subject, had seen is the verb, and star is going to be the direct object. What did they see? The star. And so sometimes it's easier just to replace it with its antecedent. It can modify. It's easy. And the man who is sitting at the table, it typically modifies the noun, the man who is sitting at the table. So here we have 10. Okay, the man is my subject.
Right.
Who is sitting
at the table
is my clause, is my preacher. So the man is my preacher. Well, so who is referring back to this man, and so it's modifying him. That's really pretty easy. Generally don't have any trouble with that. The man who is sitting at the table. But notice that inside the dependent clause, there is a verb, there are nouns, and there's a prepositional phrase, and who is sitting, there's our verb. And so inside there can be nominative, accusative nouns, there can be verbs, there can be indirect objects, but they're all inside the clause. The key thing is that never, ever, ever, ever is the main verb of the sentence inside the clause. Here's the main verb, is my preacher. So that's one thing we want to remember. It can also, you can have to often add words to use it substantively as a noun. He who takes up his cross. Well, who takes up his cross, sometimes you have to add the he to make it make sense, type of thing. So that's all that's saying. The key is to keep the clause together. Oftentimes it's separated by commas. It's very long. Find the subject and the verb within the clause and build from there. Know that the main subject and the main verb is never inside the clause. The clause will have its own subject, it will have its own verb, but it's not the main subject or the main verb to the entire sentence. And here's the relative pronouns. This is the easy part. This, you can look at it a couple different ways. These look like the case endings to all the nouns we learned. Has, hey, ha. Okay. Or you can look at it, these are the exact same thing as the articles without the tau. So all of these should be exactly familiar. In the nominative singular, has, hey, ta word. See, this is why I don't like that pen, because I keep losing it. Can't write with it, and I keep losing it. That should be right here, okay. Let me change it back to where I can see it. Okay, has, hey, ha. And its translation is going to be who, which, or that. Now, who could be whom or whose, but who, which, or that is its translation. Depending upon whether it's being used, modifying a person or something neuter, or something that can be used for masculine, feminine, or neuter. Genitive, who, haste, who. Another thing I want to point out is that the article has a rough breathing,
Right.
does not have the accent mark. So these have the rough breathing and the accent mark.
Accent marks.
Okay, so that would help you differentiate between the article and the relative pronoun. But really, these are the same as the articles, except it has the accent mark. And the tau is missing. Well, the tau is missing because the rough breathing is here. Well, I don't say because, but basically, oftentimes the rough breathing replaces the tau. But these are the exact same endings, or the case endings or the article endings, the same thing that we had. So there's nothing new. Who, haste, who. Again, with the article and the rough breathing. Ho, hey, ho is my dative singular. Han, hang, ha, my accusative singular. Who, which or that. Hoi, hi, ha, whom, which or that. Home, hone, home. Of whom, which are whose. Dative plural, hois, heis, hois, to whom or to which. And then the accusative plural, whose, haste, ha, whom, which, or that. So really, on the relative pronouns, your in terms of recognizing, the only thing new is that it looks like the article without the tau, and has the rough breathing, but adds to it the breathing mark. Or you can look at it as the case endings. Either way, whatever works for you. These are the same as the case endings that we had for our nominative, genitive, dative, and accusative, singular and plural for masculine, feminine, neuter. So we keep seeing the same thing over and over again. So hopefully it becomes more cemented in our brains over time. So hopefully you can recognize them. And that leads us to vocabulary. If you know any of these words, aletheia. Now don't cheat and look in the book. See if you recognize it. If you don't, that's okay. We're in chapter what, 14? Yeah.
14. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we haven't done 14 yet, so you probably won't recognize them. So aletheia is truth, and it's used 109 times in the New Testament. Aletheia. Notice that it is an alpha ending. That is the stem ending. There is no case ending. So the nominative singular is feminine. That's why we have aletheos for its genitive, the alpha sigma. And it's hey, or it's rough breathing eta for the article. And it means truth. Arene, haste, or arene, arenes, hey. Again, here's the feminine stem ending with no case ending, so it's nominative singular feminine, arene. There's my feminine article, hey, and there's a feminine genitive, arenes, and it means peace. Enopion, this is a preposition. I think it's referred to as a, I forget, not an alternate preposition, improper preposition. I think that's what it's called. But it is a preposition, enopion, and it means before. Now here you have the double gamma. Remember the double gamma, the first one's going to be pronounced with a new sound, right?
No.
So epangelia, pangelios, hey. So is this masculine, feminine, or neuter?
It would be feminine.
Yes, sir. So this is feminine because of the stem ending in the nominative with no case ending. Its genitive form is apangelios with the omicron sigma, and we have the feminine article with hey, rough breathing, and it means promise. Rough breathing, hepta. This is a number. It's not declinable. It's always going to say hepta, and it means 7. Thranos. Thranos, thranu, ha. What?
We've had that word.
Have we really? Okay. Yeah. Well, what does it mean?
Throne.
Throne is correct. Yep. That's correct. Okay, and this should be recognizable. Jerusalem. 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 Hey. What does that mean?
Jerusalem.
Yes, sir. Jerusalem. It's also indeclinable. Anyway. All right, here's another preposition, kata, and it can be with an lesion as kat when it comes before a when the alpha drops when it comes precedes another word that begins with a vowel. If it precedes a word that begins with a vowel and a rough breathing, then it's going to be with kaf, and so it uses the theta, replaces the tau aspirates to a theta. So that's why those changes there. But kata is in the accusative. It means it's governing according to or through or during. If it's governing the genitive, so it can have two functions. It's like two different noun or two different words. In the genitive, it means down from or against.
Okay. How does that, if you look in the Greek New Testament writing, doesn't kata have a double tau? Kata, like kata Matthews, or
No. That according to Matthew, that's let me look that up real quick. Hold on a minute. Yeah, no, it's not a double tau, it's a single, so it's the same word.
okay.
And so it's in the accusative, and it would be according to Matthew, or according to John, or according to Mark or Luke. So yeah, it's a single tau, and this is that word, yes. So in the genitive, when it's governing the genitive, it means down from or against, used 473 times. When it's in the accusative, it can mean according to, throughout, or during. Let me read what it says here. It says, when kata, well, I already said that. When kata is followed by a word beginning with a vowel and smooth breathing, the alpha elides. And so you get the alpha falls off and you get the tau apostrophe. If the following word begins with a rough breathing, the alpha elides and the tau aspirates to a theta. So yeah. So anyway. Okay, kephale, kephales, hey. Automatically, I see the feminine words, a feminine noun. Kephale means head. Christ is the head. He's the kephale. He's the head of the church. Kephale ecclesia. So kephale, kephales is the genitive form, and hey, feminine, eta with the rough breathing is the noun associated with that. Here's a word that's a little bit different, and this is hados, or hadu. Now, this is where it's different. If you remember, we said that the stems with an omicron is second declension, either masculine or neuter, and here with the sigma would be masculine in the nominative, right? But yet, it has this eta with the rough breathing article with it, and that's feminine. Well, there are a few words that are second declension, and they're not masculine and they're not neuter because they're feminine. Not many, but there are a few. But it looks like a masculine word, got a omicron ending, stem ending, sigma for its masculine. There's my genitive, omicron upsilon. And I would expect the ha, the omega, not omega, the omicron with the rough breathing, but instead its article is the eta with the rough breathing. And that's because this word is actually feminine. You can't tell by looking at it, you just have to know that. So the point is there are second declension words that are masculine, most are masculine and neuter, but there are a few of them that are actually feminine, and they'll be in the lexicon with a eta with a rough breathing. Okay? And it means way, road, or journey, or conduct. It's the way of a Christian walk or journey, the conduct of, so it's hadas. Okay?
Gotcha.
All right, here's our relative pronoun. Rough breathing with the accent mark. Has, he, ha. And it means who, which, or that. Right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. That's
They lift off of that.
real confident. Right. So we're marching right along. And then hate. Hate is a means when. I want to read the note I think that has here. Let me see.
You're not confused with
hati. Yeah, the epsilon ending here is when. Hati is meaning because or that or since. But here, hati is a temporal particle meaning when. Hutos, meaning thus, so, or in this manner. We actually had this word already in our homework, and it means, of course, city. Or no, I'm sorry, it's a different word. This is a ship or boat. Oh, I had it backwards. Palion or palion, paliu, ta. And of course, here we have our Omicron stem ending with a new case ending, and the Omicron upsilon genitive, and then of course the ta is the neuter, so I know it's a neuter word, second declension neuter word, meaning ship or boat, as in when the disciples got into the boat and Jesus was asleep at the map. Okay, hey, hrema, hrematos, ta, rough breathing. So hre, there's my hre, ma, hrema, hrematos, ta. So it's a neuter word, and it means word or saying. So there's more than, just like we have in English, we have more than one word that means word. They have here it means word or saying. Te means and or so. It's also post-positive, like de is, and so it will never start at the beginning of a Greek sentence, but we will probably translate at the beginning of the English sentence. It means and or so, or and so. And then ker or keras, hey. This is means hand, arm, or finger. And I think our last word for tonight is zuke. Sukes, hey, a feminine word, in first declension, and it means soul, life, or self. Which one it means is often difficult to determine. Is it talking about the soul? Is it talking about the person's life? Are they one and the same, or are they different? That's all about the exegesis, and that's something that takes a lot of effort to do. You're looking at the context to try to figure that out.
Yeah, I think we've had that word before.
We might have. I don't know. We might have had it. I'm not sure. Anyway.
I have a hard time with that word on my flashcards.
Okay, because of the pronunciation?
No, because
to remember it?
It's just remembering it.
Well, suke is life. I got that one, and it's someone's soul or someone's life, and so I don't know how to make that.
But isn't there another word for life also?
Well, there is zoe. Zoe means life too, right? So, any questions? What do you think?
I think it's coming slowly.
It is.
I said, I kind of hit this plateau where.
Well, George, if you look back to where you started, I mean, obviously you had some experience in some languages before, but you come a long ways considering from where you started. Now, there's certainly some of it's going to remain fuzzy until time passes and you have an opportunity to absorb it and let it sink in and actually use it. Again, the more you use it, the more it begins to make sense and becomes more permanent part of your knowledge base. Next week, what we'll do is we're going to do the review. I forget what, I think it's, Well, what we'll do is we'll spend time on chapter 14. I didn't do my homework slide. Let's do the same homework, chapter 14, the parsing, all the warm-ups, and even number translations. But after that, instead of learning something new, we're just going to do a review of, I forget what review number it's called.
Review number 3.
Yeah, number 3. Thank you. For chapters 10 through 14. So we'll just go through that. So do as much of that as you can. And what we'll do is we'll try to just walk through that. And so next week will really be nothing but review chapter 14, and then we'll do review number 3. And I won't assign anything particular. We'll just do parts of it just to see if we're getting the hang of it. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Any questions or thoughts?
A lot of this on the review looks,
Yeah.
Here's the the 7th. What am I trying to say? The stop stuff.
Oh yeah, the square stops.
Square stops.
Yeah, rule 7, I think it is. Yeah. So
be working on it.
The review will help us to give us time to absorb it before we move to. You really want to be comfortable with nouns before you move to verbs. And the reason is because verbs are a totally different animal, and you'll be thinking nouns, but you're working verbs, and it's going to mess you up completely. So the more comfortable you are with nouns, you can then push them aside and start focusing on verbs. Now, verbs are really the key to translation of any sentence, most Greek sentences. And so they take the most time to learn. I have some other charts that are laid out differently to help us recognize the verbs and to understand the translations. But we'll get into that, not next week, but the week after that. And what we'll do is next week we'll do a review, the homework on chapter 14, parsing, warm-up, and then the even translations. We won't do them all. And then we'll look at the various parts of the review. Actually, number 3, again, we won't do all that. We'll just go through a sample of a lot of it, okay?
Okay. See you then.
Yes, sir. You take care and have a good. Hey, and tell Kathy we're saying a prayer for her.
Okay, sure will.
All right. Thank you.
You have a good day, and hope your family's doing good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Let me stop sharing in, but I got to get my pen back.